Happy Easter, everybody. Welcome back to Mile.3 Garage. I am Chris, and today we're going to be working on the Bronco again. I actually took some time off this week to kind of get some things primed. I know I promised you a lot of movement. I've actually promised me a lot of movement on this Bronco, but there hasn't been a lot of movement on the Bronco. So this is the week that I'm going to use to get myself primed, get myself back in the habit of working on my cars, get the Wagoneer going. I've got a list of things that I want to get done, but every time I say I'm going to get something done, I don't. So I'm not going to tell you when I'm going to get done. I'm just going to get it done. Today we're working on the taillight housings, and came across a viewer of my Instagram page. See the link down below. Follow me on Instagram. I'm having some problems with the rear taillight housings. This distance between these two pillars here is supposed to be 56 inches. Right now, we are 56 inches down low. We are 55 3/4 inches up top. What that's doing is the tail gate is not closing all the way, and the taillight housing is not fitting with the quarter panel on that side, which isn't welded in right now. So there's a lot of room to adjust there. But I want to get this distance right here to where it needs to be. So I can cut welds and re-weld it back in, but I figured with a 1/4 inch, I can probably manipulate that a little bit, seeing as all of the panels in this bed are not completely welded in. Most of them are tacked in. Some of them are completely welded in, but a lot of them are just tacked in. I think Matt knew he was going to go in and do some adjustments, so obviously that's where I'm at right now, is doing some adjustment on it in order to get these panels in right. So as Matt said famously in one of his episodes, these Broncos were made to beat to fit and paint to match. So that's what we're going to do. .56 on the nose. So now we are ready for some taillight housings. All right, let's check these gaps. Looks good. In fact, I may have overcorrected just a little bit. So we've got about 1/8 of an inch gap there. I think it might need to be more than that, but I'm not sure. Then over here, got a little more than 1/8 of an inch gap there. But the gap is consistent all the way down to the bottom. So I think I got it. So I've come across two issues with the quarter now. So the first one is that when this is matched up here, it's looking pretty good here, it's looking pretty good here. I'm too far out right in the corner right there. That tab right there is about 1/4 of an inch out of this radius here. And the tab that's on the inside that lines up with the inside of the upper fender or the upper quarter is limited out. So I'm going to have to cut that lip off on the inside down probably, I would imagine, about 6 inches or so in order to get this to push in far enough to get the radius where I want it. So I checked the other side, and sure enough, Matt had already done the other side like that, or at least that's what it looks like, because it needs to go in just a little bit. So we're going to take this quarter off, and we're going to cut this lip on the inside here about 1/2 inch, 1/4 of an inch, just to get it to where it'll push in just a little bit further. And then on the back side here, to this corner right here, I measured the other side, which the other side, the passenger side, quarter, taillight housing, and door all match very well. This was 6.5 inches from the inside to this corner right here,
which is almost where we're at. Now that said, we're on the outer limits of this apron right here. In fact, we're not even on the apron in some parts. This is going to come in just a little bit. And then this bracket right here, which on the other Bronco, both panels come together and seat inside of this and weld to this for bracing. Obviously, we're nowhere near that. So I'm thinking about extending this just a little bit to give this something to ride on, although I think it's structured a little to be fine. But those are the two things we're dealing with, so let's get ahead and get it done. So Little Miss Brighton here is going to show us how to cut a 1/4 inch off of this quarter panel to get it to fit.
I'm ready.
All right. Now that we've got that cut and in, now the door is fitting very nice. It's okay, cut. Door's fitting very nice right there, and ready to weld this in. First, we need to weld in the top seam, and the way that we're going to do that is drill a hole about every 2 inches into the upper quarter, and then I'm going to grind on the underside or the top side of the quarter panel and the underside and the upper side of the inside of the upper quarter so that I get a metal to metal match, and that way when I weld I'll get a better ground. There is a little bit more of a gradual slope for the way that tail light panel is hitting out, but I don't think it's that big a deal. You're not going to see it once it's welded in and painted. You know, how often are you down on your knees looking up at a Bronco? But anyway, and then went through, drilled the top holes. As you can see, maybe not. In there about every 2 inches, and hammer and dolly to get the holes to match, because I can't really seem to get a Tech screw in there. Now nothing left to do but weld them in. Both quarters are in. This guy is pretty solid. I haven't tacked, or I've only tacked in the sides of the quarter because I'm not 100% sure how everything's going to go together completely, although I do have these clamped in. And just to kind of give you an idea. Alright, so as you can see, very nice. This is all Matt's handiwork right here, so this one is awesome. This one's going to fit perfectly. Gap is tight, but not horribly tight. I'm going to have to open that up a little bit. I think part of this is, once I get this welded in here, this will move this over probably another 1/8 of an inch. Gap on this side is a little bit more reasonable. All the way down looks pretty good. And then on the side, it looks pretty decent.
Again, this is only tacked in. This is not welded in at all, so I can play with it a little bit, which I will do, and get that in there. The front, can't really see that too well, but it's looking pretty good. And then down the Bronco a bit. Not too bad. All right, so we have a little bit more fab work to do tonight. Gonna prep the actual taillight housings for going in, so I'm gonna grind them down a little bit, do some hammer and dolly work to get them a little closer, and then on the gaps that we have right here, those are gaps that hammer and dolly I don't think is going to really do all that much in there, because it's hitting up at the top and I can't really bring that in that much. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to through bolt here and here. I'm going to put bolts all the way through with a nut on it and see if I can't get this gap down by forcing it down. I don't know what it's going to do to the panel. I don't know how much it's going to distort the panel, but it'll be free to see if it'll work. So I'm going to do that. I'm actually going to bolt that, suck it up, see if I can't get it to fit right. If I can, weld it in there, pow, get it done, and move on to the next thing. Make sure you check me out on Instagram. The new shop dog is actually here. It's a little fat furry animal. Go to Instagram and see him. He'll be making a debut on this channel in the next couple of days, as soon as everybody gets done playing with him. And then also I got been playing around with some merch, and so I got some merch coming out just to kind of play with it a little bit. That's coming up here pretty soon. I'm off this week, so I'm going to try to get as much done on the body as I can before we put it in a primer. And I also am going to get the Wagoneer transfer case rebuilt and put into the Wagoneer, and maybe even drive it by the end of the week. I don't know if we're gonna have enough time, but we're gonna try to figure this out. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. We want to show you more content going forward, and Mandy's gonna get involved. Mother's Day is coming up, and so we're gonna give you like a top 10 items for the wife for the garage, and this will be from Mandy. This is Mandy's top 10 things she wants for Mother's Day. So we'll maybe give you some ideas. And that is a wrap from Mile.3 Garage.